All right. Well, welcome to the Q&A portion of our webinar on providing on-the-job training. I'm Kirby Sneen with the Manufacturers Alliance, here with Mike Richter with Wilson Tool International and also Chris Von Helps with Intech Plastics. Thank you guys for joining me and carving out just a few more minutes.
Thanks for having us, Kirby.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's great to be among such fine company.
I'm excited to get into it, get into some details. Let's talk about goals, collaborating with SMEs, how you guys measure effectiveness of OJT, how do you get it to be consistent, and even talk just a little bit about AI. I'm excited to get there over the next 15 or so minutes. Let's talk about goals first and how you really center the focus of any on-the-job training. Mike, I'll kick this one to you first. What kind of goals does your OJT have?
I think at Wilson Tool, number one is safety. Comes to mind is we have to have a safe work environment. And so most of our on-the-job training starts with the safety protocols and making sure that anybody new, especially on the shop floor, that they have those safety skills and understand the risks and dangers. Another piece would be kind of those for goals is not to make the same mistakes as everybody else has. Learn from the experience that's already existed within the organization. So not starting from scratch every time. So our goals really revolve around that. And then, leadership would say just getting people up to speed quicker. If we have an effective on-the-job training program, getting them up to speed quicker. And finally, for me, it's about the employee experience as well. Making sure that their experience is going well, that they're being brought along, not too fast, not too slow, but just the right pace, right?
Mm-hmm. I couldn't put it any better myself, Mike, and I would mirror those exact sentiments. Really at Intech Plastics, what we're trying to do is keep the employees safe, provide them an environment where they're comfortable, and take away the anxiety so they can really start to learn, while at the same time giving our OJT trainers the tools that they need to succeed. After all, one of the toughest things to do in an OJT program is deliver consistency. So we want to make sure that we have the documentation, that we have the practices to be able to get consistent on-the-job training. And then that will reflect in so many aspects of the business. One of our goals with OJTs is to be able to give a new hire an environment where they want to stay at Intech for an entire career. If we're able to build a strong foundation with that new operator and give them something they can build on to keep learning, keep progressing, then we'll have done our jobs very well.
So I know that both of you are collaborating with subject matter experts. You have to in order to be successful. How do you make sure the collaboration is successful when they're really busy?
Yeah, first and foremost, I got to put myself in a place of humility. Our SMEs are very busy people. Their time is golden, as we all know. So I don't want to try to approach the SME like I'm a peer. I'm someone who's there to learn from them. Then I also want to make sure that I'm prepared in what I want to know from my SME. You can't just walk up to the SME and be like, tell me all about manufacturing. They're going to roll their eyes. Steam starts coming out the ears.
Like, what exactly do you mean?
Right. So I make sure that I value their time by having very specific needs. And finally, I open the door for future collaboration. I say, hey, I know your time is valuable. If you'd like to circle back with me, if any more ideas come up, please do so.
Yeah, I think for us, we start at the top and say we have a responsibility as an organization to train and develop each other. Your job isn't just this, it's supporting everybody. And so I don't come from up here with our SMEs, but just understanding that our culture is that responsibility to others to grow from within. It's getting harder and harder to find, experienced employees to come in that can jump right on a machine or jump right into a task and know how to do it. So we know that we have to start building from within and building that culture. When we have some of those technical knowledge type employees as these SMEs, I'm very careful about their time of what they're training other people on. For example, software, some of our programming software, they don't need to teach them where the buttons are and how to save files and some of these skills that need to be taught. But that's not when I'm going to pull the SME in. I'll try a different approach, either somebody else to train it, or we'll use our learning management system and make videos of some of these topics. So there's almost some required prerequisite learning before you walk in with that SME. Let's use that time the right way, the most valuable way, and use it efficiently when we get them in the same space.
So, Mike, I'll kick this next one to you, and then
Yeah.
you, Chris, too. But you talked a little bit about making sure that people can do, right? It's not enough to be able to see it and or hear it, but they have to be able to do. How do you make sure that on-the-job training, that OJT is just right, like not too little, not too much,
Yeah.
so that they can do?
So, kind of what Chris was building off was not to overwhelm them, but I think that the key to not having too much or too little really comes with communication. So, if you're communicating with that new hire, or it's not always a new hire, let's be honest, sometimes people are changing roles and situations change. They have some other background. We adjust to each individual. I think we can't be so strict and rigid that my training plan and my onboarding plan is this every single time. We talk about consistency, yes, but there needs to be flexibility. Just onboarding somebody up for my team this week, and turns out she's a rock star. And do I need to micromanage that? No. We have that ability within a range. We know what those, starting with those goals, but we adjust. We can speed up. We can slow down. But you have to communicate with that employee, have them demonstrate, make sure consistency is there, quality is there, and then gradually release more and more. But it really does come down to individualized education for employees.
Love it. Chris, what would you add?
All fantastic stuff. Like for me, what it really comes down to is you can't be just married to your training, whatever it is that you build. Kind of like how I talked about in my webinar, just because we made this training program, it's everything we want. We think it's our Ferrari. It might not be to the people who really matter the most, which are the people that are using it. You have to be willing to go to your OJTs, go to your SMEs, say, be critical of this. Is it too much? Is it too little? At the end of the day, the people that are going to take your program and carry it forward are those trainers. Is this a tool that's serving them as best as it can? Are you giving them too much? Are you giving them too little? Get the feedback from them. Once you got that feedback, once you got that buy-in, whether it's too much or too little, you can adjust based on what your trainee is experiencing, right?
Yeah.
Making a program that has guardrails, that has a lot of good process to it, but also creating room for flexibility. I think that really helps you kind of cater, like you were talking about, to what the trainee is doing.
So Mike was talking about getting people up to speed quicker. That makes me think about performance and measurements. How do you guys measure the effectiveness of OJT at Intech?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of benchmarks that are universal for everybody, which are turnover, retention, absenteeism. They're really early stress indicators for you. If you're having your trainers, if you're having your new hires calling in a lot, if they're not sticking around, then a good place to look is that initial onboarding and training. But beyond that, we want to see that the trainees are able to level up. At Intech, we have a system where every 2 months, a new hire or seasoned operator can do a skills check. And if they're able to pass that check, they go up in level and they go up in pay. Now, you might be thinking, why do you want to give a whole bunch of money to people? What this means when they level up is that not only are they knowledgeable, not only have they proven their technical acumen, but also it means that these are people who are going to stick around, who are going to be consistent, who are really invested in the program they have.
Yeah, I think the whole learn and earn model is sustainable for sure. It's a win-win. What would you add?
So same kind of thing that he was talking about. There are those common metrics across the board that everybody uses, but we're still a growing organization in how mature we are with this. A lot of our information does come from interviewing the employees themselves. And so satisfaction, engagement surveys, doing that more often, not just once every 2 years. One of my favorite things to do is bring in all the new hires from the past 3 months and say, and almost build a cohort, regardless of what their job is. What are you going through? What struggles are you having? And so our metrics, some of our information comes from that. and we use that information to help drive our program as well. So it isn't always as formal as some of the other HR metrics and people metrics that you would see, but I still think it helps drive the value of what we're trying to accomplish.
We'll do a couple hundred of cohorts through manufacturers alliance training in every given year, any given year. And I just love the bonds that are formed.
Yes.
People can go back and say, hey, you remember when we went through?
Yes.
Do you remember the problem and this and that?
And then you get a
And they
phone call out of the blue from somebody that you were in, like, hey,
Yeah.
I know you talked about this problem last year. I'm having the same problem now. So to develop those bonds within a company, but also within Manufacturers Alliance,
It's
wonderful.
special. It's really special. The problem sometimes then is for those companies to continue to be consistent, even when they've like weaned themselves off of Manufacturers Alliance training, right?
Yeah.
So, and you guys have experience with this. You both mentioned it in your presentations. Consistency is really important so that it's not a different experience every time someone goes through the safety training.
Yeah.
If there's constant change, then how do you know that there's improvement if it's all over the place, right? So you got to be really strategic. How have you guys been consistent in delivering OJT training? Chris, I'm going to kick this one over to you
Okay,
first.
fantastic. So being consistent OJT training means you have something that trainers consistently want to use. You have to make sure that you're checking in with your OJT trainers, that you're serving them well. After all, put yourself in the shoes of someone who's training. It can be a stressful job. You're taking someone that maybe doesn't know a thing about your industry and trying to get them up to speed. So you want to make sure that the tools you're giving them to perform their duties are up to par. What that means, again, is talking to your OJTs, talking to your SMEs, making sure that you got a good tool to use. Now, once you get beyond that point, you want to make sure that you're doing something with the information you got. If you're talking to your SMEs and your OJT trainers trying to get yourself a consistent program, and then they can tell that you're not using that information, that's an easy trap to fall into.
Yeah.
So they want to see that you're taking their feedback, that you're putting it into the program. Again, that makes the buy-in go up. That drives consistency. And then finally, they want to know what to expect from L&D. If we're being consistent with our trainers, if we're being consistent with our new hires, we're not throwing them curveballs. They understand the language that we're speaking in, and that helps everybody.
Amen. Yes.
What'd you add?
So when we're trying to be consistent at work, it does a couple different things. Number one, it supports, again, what you were saying, leadership knows what to expect. Mm-hmm. They know the desired outcomes, the metrics that hopefully a program, like OJT would accomplish. But it gives a roadmap for those new hires or even somebody within the organization. I want to go from here. Now I want to be an engineer. Now I know how to get there. Like that consistent in the way of breaking down things into some of those skills and competencies and growth areas. It just gives them that plan when we have this consistency across departments. It gives them that plan to go from one area to another and know what to expect and how much work it might actually take, and not just, yep, I can do this. I can run this machine today. Not exactly how it goes. So I think that consistency is really important from our standpoint.
One last question before I let you guys go. I have become a daily user of AI. It's really both fun and also really practical to see its applications in the industry. One of them that I think is both interesting and useful is in some cases just taking a picture of a cell or a line or an aisle and having that be the current state, and then doing a really good prompt in AI that says, what would the future state look like when 5S and visual management is applied? Then give it another prompt that gives it a definition for what that is, and then upload it, and then compare the current, the before with the after. And of course, use that with the team to be able to say, okay, great, here's the inspiration. Or if they're stuck and they're in the middle of something, here's some potential brainstorming fodder. If they're like, what should we do, right? And so just a ton of opportunity with AI. But what about you guys? What do you see, the either current state or what's the future hold with AI and on-the-job training, and how is it going to help it be really more efficient or more effective?
Sure. So AI is a huge initiative across all of manufacturing, Wilson Tool included. We're taking slowly steps to build some governance. But when you think about on-the-job training, I'm going to take some of those ideas you gave, bring them back. I love that. I love brainstorming these things. One of the things we started trying is, that institutional knowledge that lives everywhere. And that's what's retiring. That's what's going out the door faster than we can get people up to speed. And so, not to send some of our new people to that subject matter expert or that experienced machinist, constantly taking them off their work. What we've done is we've started to sit down and have interviews, and I let them know ahead of time, we're just talking about one part of your job, this part here. And I want you to walk me through it and tell me some of the mistakes. And so I have a list of questions that I start walking, but we actually record that conversation and then use AI to help start driving some of our standard operating procedures, or, capturing some of this knowledge. You brought this up earlier, but where do you put all this knowledge? Whole nother question.
Yeah.
How do it lives everywhere? It's in notebooks. It's in people's heads.
Roping IT and IS into the conversation.
Yeah, yes. So this is a passion for mine, but we've seen some great use with AI, starting with some of that knowledge capture and transfer of knowledge.
It's so interesting because so many managers want to give that new hire the time to be successful, but they don't always have it.
Yeah.
And so if that new person could go to the manager or go to AI in that collaboration, they're more likely to get everything they need without the manager having to give up as much time as they thought. I know that's the future.
Yeah. And we've talked about digital assistance right there in some cases at cell level. This is down the road, but if some of these common questions or issues, we track, if there's maintenance things or things like that, there are questions that are commonly asked. If they could do that right at the cell and get that question answered without having to stop something or go find a supervisor, they know it's a safety concern. We start putting sensors and all this. Sky's the limit really for AI, but from an on-the-job training, we don't always want to just keep, we don't always want to keep AI in the forefront of it all, but it's definitely going to help in the future.
Chris, you get the last word.
Cool. A couple things on AI. Definitely a passionate subject, but when AI was kind of dropped on our laps, it's kind of like when computers were dropped on your lap. It's just kind of a myriad of potential that we haven't quite begun to even understand what we could do with it. But as far as how we approach AI, we don't want to take imagination out of the equation by becoming overly reliant on using it to prompt and create for us. Really what we want to be is a collaborator with us. So when we're using AI in L&D, we're having it help us frame a course that we're making, or we're having it help us process large amounts of data. So, for instance, if we have our OJT trainers filling out daily reports on what's happening with our operators, and something happens outside the norm, there's a challenge with training, or something happened on the line which was counterproductive to training, we can have them sit right in front of a computer, turn on the mic and just say what happened. What were the conditions that led up to the incident? How did you solve it? And upon recollection, do you have anything that you would have done differently? And start building that knowledge management system. Because what will happen over time is if you have enough feedback from trainers, then you can use AI to process that information. And you can discover maybe certain production lines are not conducive. Exactly. Yes. Start finding your trends which either hamper your training or which accelerate your training. And then the other side of it, which you very well framed already, was you use that knowledge management system whenever a team lead, whenever an engineer goes to production line to solve a problem. Again, put them in front of that microphone, start transcribing and say, what were the conditions when it was going wrong? What did you do to solve the problem? What were the conditions after you solved the problem? And what might you have done differently? Then over time, if on that certain line we run into a problem, you can use your AI and your knowledge management system to maybe get a really quick diagnosis and be able to do something someone else did in the past and be able to address your issue. So really, like, prompting's cool, but I would just try to be outside the box with AI. Think about ways you could use it that are uncommon.
Sounds like some more topics coming your way there.
Yes, I love the experience and the strategy there. In fact, I just appreciate everything you guys have shared. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
having
you,
us.
Kirby.
Hey, if you are like me and just really appreciated these real world examples from experienced peers, but maybe you're looking for more training to go even deeper, take a look at our Supervision Fundamentals series of digital courses. They're included in your company membership, and the best news is that they're available at no additional cost. So you can go deeper when it works best for you and your team. So with that, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Hey, thank you.
you.
Excellent
There we
work,
go.
Jess.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
I feel like we could have did a podcast for you there on AI at the end. Just keep it rolling.
Just keep ripping.